Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cornhole Culture. I'm your host, Miguel Villa, and I'm here with Adam Hissner and David Morris. How are you guys doing?
Oh, just amazing.
Doing well, Miguel. Thanks for having us.
No problem. In this specific episode, I want to talk about strategy. And I think you guys were perfect for this because you guys love blocking the hole. I mean, Adam, since I known you, you have always been a more strategical player than a hole-to-hole player. So to start, I want you to break down how people can go into games. For example, when somebody says, "I'm going to play him hole-to-hole," or "I'm going to play him throw a blocker on my second bag." What are the different strategies that players could go into a game playing different types of players?
I mean, obviously, I understand your question, but it really comes down to your game. Doesn't matter who you're playing. It never does. It's all. I mean, the strategy is it's how you manipulate the whole. I mean, you're playing. I tell everybody all the time, whether it's doubles, singles, whatever, you're playing yourself because you know what you can do. So there's no reason to switch your game up. I mean, unless these damn new bags that just fall in the hole, and you might just have to do that. But in all reality, in my opinion, you're playing yourself. It's all you all the time. It doesn't matter who you're playing against.
So, how about yourself? What is your strategy going into the game?
I mean, now since I've been doing some of these virtual tournaments, I mean, obviously it's a hole for hole thing. I mean, it's possible it could change my strategy than my normal blocking, but it's still in the old, in the back pocket. So I'm going to attempt it. But like I said, these new bags are just, I mean, Dave half the time throws up the left side and they still go in. So, I mean, that's why I pick him up as a partner because he's so damn lucky. I mean, shit.
Now, David, what is your strategy going into?
I mean, like, I agree with Adam saying you're playing yourself. I mean, if you make all the bags, you're going to win. If you never miss a bag, you're never going to lose. But, I mean, there's still other factors that go into it, like the type of bag that the other person's using. If they're using, like, a super fast bag, you might not be able to jam the hole up or block as much as you would normally. If the bag's holding up, you could maybe jam up the hole and steal 2 points. But if those bags are going to fall in easily, you got to make the choice to follow them in. At the same time, I know I've used this analogy, comparison to you, Miguel. Like, I never go for an airmail if I think the person can push the bag in. So if the person's leaving an easy push there, I'll block behind it or follow it in. But with these new bags, like Adam's saying, like, those pushes become a lot easier. So you have to be a little bit more conservative. You have to do a double block sometimes. You can't go for those aggressive airmails as much as you used to be able to. So, I mean, it's at the same time, like, it's your opponent too. If he's a good pusher, you might need to block it. If you think he's going to hit an airmail, there's no reason to block behind it. Try to follow it in. If you think you can go hole for hole with them, just follow it in and try to go hole for hole with them. So there's, like, a lot of things to consider. The type of bag that they're using, your opponent.
Hey, when you say hole again, that was kind of nice.
You wouldn't like that, Adam. But yeah, there's just different things to consider. The type of bag that they're using, the opponent, his strengths and weaknesses, and then just your game. If you're going to try to get 2 points, you're going to try to steal more. You're going to try to lock it up. So that's what I like to think about.
It's just hard anymore to lock anything up.
Yeah,
with these new bags, and nothing against people. There's great players out there that are throwing these new bags, but I mean, it makes everybody so much better as far as it's easier for them to push stuff. It's easier to go around stuff. When before you really had to have a lot of control of your bag and your shot. And I mean, it really showed who was really good.
All right, this is perfect because
I agree. Like,
go ahead.
Like, before, when stickier bags and stuff were out there, having first bag was way more important than it is now, because you could jam up the hole and just take 2 points and move on to the next frame. Now things will just fall in the hole. So it's going to be an open hole a lot more. So you really need like a true miss where something's not touching the hole at all. Rather than before, if something was hanging, you could try to lock it up and, they're just going to have to lay up or get super aggressive and you can get points out of it. That's not the case anymore.
So for the new players that never experienced tournaments where there was true stick bags. I mean, Adam, you've been playing competitive cornhole for what, like 20 years?
Before I was born,
I mean, you are
That
so
old?
Yeah. How long have you been? Right. It's definitely been over 15 years, right?
No, it hasn't been that long. It's probably been close to 10 to 11.
Okay. So 10, 11 years. I mean, even back in 2017 in the ACL championships, there were still true stick bags that you guys were playing with. There was no sticky, fast, double-sided fast bags. So, not just 2 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, there was no all slick bags. This didn't exist. The innovation of bags obviously changed the whole game, like you guys were talking about. David, you've been playing for 6 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's like, how I want you guys to explain how it was before, because there's a lot of new players, that have been playing for the past 2 years that have no idea how it used to be. And, do you think that if, obviously, Adam, you said those players, there's a lot of players that got really, really good because now a miss goes in the hole. But before, how was it before? Give me your experience.
Just
on
like Dave said, first bag was the key. You get that blocker up there, and if they miss left or right, you could shove it up, jam it up, guarantee yourself 2 points. But you were able with that sticky bag to just kind of push and sit, which is a big deal. But even now with these fast bags, the problem is with a sticky bag player, your blocks have to be so much more precise because those new bags, they just kind of roll around. Now, that's not saying good player or even a startup player. If you don't push properly, you're still going to miss that push with a sticky bag. Now, if you're playing fast and faster bags, you have a chance to push it in, but you're more or less trying to follow it anyways. But it's just a lot easier with a fast bag if your opponent's playing the same thing. But if you got somebody that has a sticky bag and you don't hit that square on that push, it's going to push you off to the left and right because it is that different.
I used to use this phrase a lot, and I used to hear it, every single tournament. The bags are kicking right now. The bags are kicking. Right now, I don't even hear anybody's, all the new players, they don't even know the phrase when a bag kicks on the board, because they have no idea about these, true stick bags and these conditions that, you had to be so precise back then. You had to be precise back then so the bags wouldn't kick, and you had to be, very skilled to make sure that bags didn't kick as well. Now, if a slick side player throws bags and they throw a sticky bag, it's going to keep kicking on them, but now they have no idea what kick is.
With the sticky bag too, you had to be perfectly in the hole. Pretty much exactly what Adam and I were talking about. Like a miss before would be something that's hanging on the hole. If you would have to go directly in, if you're not directly in, you're going to hang up on the edge of the hole. And because those bags are so sticky, those bags weren't always coming back. Those were not going to fall back in the hole. Even if it was 50% in the hole, the guy that with the first bag or the next bag could jam that up and you're screwed. I think I talked to you about this yesterday, Miguel. You and Tyler and a lot of the guys around here give me a lot of crap for saying oh no, I missed, and then it goes in. That's more so me just being used to a sticky bag. Bags that used to be misses that now barely catch the hole go in, go straight in, because they're not hanging up on the hole anymore. If that was a sticky bag, that's hanging up on the side of the hole and not dropping in. So I'm just used to having to be directly in the middle, falling in. Something that's left or right a little bit isn't a
You
miss
think it's a
anymore. It
miss,
goes
yeah.
in. Yeah.
Right. Now, now I know that you being sponsored by Kill Shots, you now have switched over to a faster bag.
Mhm. You have
Now,
to at this point. I mean,
well, Adam, I mean, how long did it take you to finally admit or just finally change bags? Because the last time I saw you was in Top Dog, which was a couple months ago, and that was probably the last tournament we all really played in, a big tournament, and you had a faster bag, and it was the first time I ever saw you with a fast bag. Are you still at that point you were very new to it, like you were still deciding if you're going to go that route and just say I give up and I'm going to join everybody because I can't beat them, or
I'm
not,
not saying
not beat them, but like
I'm just a
you
great
can't beat
player
them, join them.
overall. I mean, if the only person that's going to say bad anything is probably Morris, but I mean, give me your damn flip flop, I'll throw it down there in the hole. But no, I mean, just like Dave said, it is changing, and it's hard. It's hard to play somebody if they do have a faster bag, if you're not really precise on your blocks. But even that, like you said, a sticky bag sits on the edge of the hole. You have to airmail that thing to get it to go in. These other bags, you touch the damn thing and it's going in. So I mean, there's still strategy in the game. Obviously, you can have push outs and knockoffs and stuff like that. But yeah, I was really new at Top Dog because I was actually the only bags that I brought, and especially when I came the damn walker in the blind draw, and that's all I had. Granted, I could have borrowed somebody else's, but I mean, I was trying to somewhat advertise those, and I mean, they are a good bag. I just didn't play with them enough. Now I have to, considering this whole virtual thing, because
what bags are those? The local new Outlaws?
Yeah, those are the Outlaws.
Yeah.
I think I actually, no, those were the Banshees. I think I brought up there, which are similar. They're just they're a little bit slower than the Outlaws, but I mean, lately that's all I've been throwing, just because when you play virtual, you don't want hang-ups. You don't want to miss.
A blocker is a bad bag.
You don't want to have
a bad bag in virtual, like you have to be in the hole or have something forgiving, for Decker out that goes.
You don't want to set a block on yourself in virtual.
Yeah, it's a different game. It's not like true. I mean,
now once we go back to playing against each other, are you going to keep sticking to your blocking, Adam, or are you going to change to?
I mean, I could still block with the fast bag, so it's still gonna make you attempt to push through. It's just the block on a faster bag is really hard because it's such a higher shot to do it.
Right.
So, I mean, probably starting back, I might start with the faster ones, but I don't know. I still feel that I may go back to my sticky bags. Because I'm a hard thrower anyways, so I can push through a lot of stuff. And even with this new material, with the sticky bag, it's still, you throw it enough, it breaks in pretty good. So it all depends on what's on that fast side. But I don't know. It's going to come down to, just getting back into it. And I mean, I've been throwing this fast stuff so much that maybe that might be my route.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Mike and I have always had a problem with bag selection. I mean, I give Adam and Cody a lot of props, they're both able to throw the same style bag. Mike and I have had that issue for 2+ years now. Mike changed his throw, and he just hasn't been comfortable with a stickier bag. And he hasn't found something with a slick side that he can only throw. We switched to Kill Shots because the sticky side for me was still allowing us to throw blockers, and it was fast enough that Mike could make work, and at the same time it's still forgiving enough for me that it's not a disadvantage like a normal sticky bag. It's still going to fall in the hole. It's way more forgiving around the hole. It's easier to push. So Mike had some adjustments, some wiggle room there, and it's not like a true sticky bag anymore. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for me right now.
Now, this past weekend, we had ESPN, the first in South Carolina, first qualifier, and what we saw on TV was just there was zero, what it seems zero strategy, because everybody was just going hole to hole because it was so fast, you know. What I know, Adam, that Cody is your teacher, and he's a better strategizer than you are, and you don't.
Wow. Cody will love to hear
Is
that.
weed legal up there in Chicago? Because you're smoking a ton of it. Cody's my teacher.
Well, it seems
At
like
my age.
it seems like you go, you ask Cody more on what to do than he asked you, because it seems like he knows what to
Well,
do.
he gets so butthurt when I make an airmail and he didn't want me to throw it. So, I guess I try to give him his opinion so he makes him feel better after he gets back to the island,
I wonder if what type of strategy are the new bags going to bring? Because obviously going hole for hole is not, I wouldn't say it's not
Is
fun.
Cody going to throw these though? Cody's not going to want to throw them. He won't switch.
I don't know because he hasn't thrown a bag since the week before Cleveland Nationals. So.
Yeah.
So I wonder how if there's new innovation to the strategy of the game that's going to pop up that we haven't.
The only way it's going to be is if it goes back to a strict stop and go bag, because just like you said, to me it's not fun to go hole for hole. Do you put them all in and win? Yeah, if you don't miss.
Right.
But to actually watch the game personally, I don't like it. I don't like watching it. That's why I kind of enjoyed the college kids when I was watching that, because they don't throw them in all the time. They throw good shots and they're up the center, so it makes them end up pushing or airmailing, and that's exciting to me.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I'd like to string 48 in a row, but I don't know. I just don't like watching it.
I'm the same with playing games. I have way more fun playing guys like you and Cody and like Kyle Malone, guys that like to block the hole just like me and manipulate the hole manipulators.
Say that again.
Yeah, so those games are way more fun to me rather than playing someone like Jay Rubin who just will throw right down the middle and try to go in every time.
Yeah, David, you're the one that introduced me to competitive cornhole, so I kind of always went into the sticky blocking side, and it's been really hard for me to change to a slower bag or a faster bag just because the way I throw in general, and I throw so hard, so it's going to be interesting to see, if the ACL is going to do something about, trying to slow these bags down, or I don't know. It's especially with this virtual, it's becoming just going home.
Yeah. I'm not giving up on the blocker. I still think eventually it will be in a cycle. Someone's going to come out with something, either a bigger bag, a stickier bag that's easy to push, but it's going to throw off those slick bags. If you don't have to throw like a perfect blocker, maybe it's just a really big bag, really sticky bag that these slick bags struggle with. Eventually there's got to be a counter to it.
Right.
It can't just get faster and faster forever. Eventually there's going to be a counter in the opposite direction. So people that can throw hard can throw.
The only problem with that, Dave, is the fact that this virtual and just everything in general, all these new bags are just fast. Yeah. So everybody's throwing fast. So do they really want to go to a sticky bag? There's going to be, I feel, very few that will have an actual suede side on their bag going.
I don't think it's going to be suede. It's going to have to be something else. But eventually I think there's going to be a breaking point. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but eventually I think things happen in cycles. It'll cycle back.
Right. I'm not saying that, all these players that do throw the fast bags can't airmail. It's just not really necessary.
No, it's not at all.
Unless they feel that they can't push through something, which I don't know why they couldn't. It's really crazy. I mean, like I said, I've threw my Outlaws back here, and some of the bags that like aren't even by the hole, and I'm able to grab, not even try to throw an airmail, but able to twist them, and they just kind of find their way back, and then the next bag hits the board and it pulls it back far. It's really crazy to me too. But I mean, like I said, it's all about the material. I don't know. I'd like to see everybody throw stop and go bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I got introduced to competitive cornhole, and that was learning the strategy behind it. Now it seems there really isn't that much strategy. Like you guys were talking about earlier, plugging the hole or just jamming the hole and getting 2 points out of it, because just everything falls now, and there is no.
These faster bags do allow beginner players, to get better a lot faster. They don't need a perfect bag, and they come into it only knowing faster bags, so the speed isn't that fast for them. That's all they know. But you'll notice there's the beginner players. Yes, they can make 20, 30 in a row, like the good beginner players. But if you throw up a blocker, that's where the difference is. Like difference from like a top pro player, mid-tier pro player, to just like a true beginner that's down the middle. The guys that can really go around stuff, roll around stuff, curve bags, or go through it. That's where.
What did you call that earlier? Manipulating the hole.
Manipulating the hole.
It was interesting. I was watching. There was this Twitter beef on Twitter about this.
Twitter beef on Twitter.
Well, I was going to say internet beef on Twitter, where this other podcast was messing with the bowling podcast, and then it started to make me think, like, how many perfect games in a bowl, in bowling is there, right? A lot of people throw perfect games, so because all you got to do is throw the ball down the lane, and all you got to do is throw 13 perfect balls to get a perfect game. In cornhole with the deck around, there hasn't been a perfect game yet that I know of.
Yeah.
Because you have to throw 40 bags perfectly in the hole,
right,
pretty much.
And if you talk to the old school bowlers, the lanes are, I wouldn't say they've changed, but back in the day they used to change them a lot. So you really had to have different balls for the lane changing. Now it almost seems like they're doing the same thing. I mean, Easy's a great bowler, and he's hit a shit ton of 300s.
Right. Now, is that another avenue that, you change the boards? I mean, it's interesting,
Not a bad idea.
Too. Like there's going to be different oil patterns, just like bowling. I've heard that theory before as well. I mean, I think it's going to take a lot to get to that point, but how do you envision that? Like saying like curve, or
well, just
faster, one board's faster, one board's slower, or like do you actually mean patterns on the board?
Well, I think it's more of a changing the board speed. Changing the board speed, and then you having to adjust to that. Throughout the tournament, I think is.
I mean, the boards change irregardless.
Right.
Large building, small building, just with heat and the AC and the humidity and stuff like that. But that's the problem with these fast bags. I mean, it almost doesn't matter. I mean, they do. I mean, I've noticed Reynolds bags. They do tend to. They did a lot of kicking with the carpet, but you could always flip it over to the faster side and slide right through it. So, I mean, it does change, but the majority of the time it's fast.
Right. It's interesting that strategy has kind of lowered, and then really now there's really no true strategy to the game like there used to be. Hopefully, like David says, there is a cycle, we do get, back to being more strategical while playing the game. Because right now, you still have Trey Ryder on ESPN saying you do this and do that and so forth. But I think it would be a lot more strategical, and I guess.
And I'm not saying I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm not saying let's say they are throwing fast bags and there's a push shot. You still have to throw that bag pretty good online to hit that push shot. It's just your precision doesn't have to be that good anymore. You could clip just the edge of that bag and you're still pushing it. When before you had to hit it nice down the middle, your bag to that bag, and then get both of them in. I mean, now your precision really doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, you know what to do. Your execution rate is higher, than before. Like, you have to hit it perfect.
And you throw a push,
there's no margin.
Like, oh, I missed it, and then it pulls it into the hole anyway. You're like, hell.
Yeah. Same with going around bags, or let's say there's like a pile, around the hole. It can still slip in and fall into a little crack and get in the hole. When before that wasn't the case. Blockers were pretty good. If there's a clump up, you're either going airmail or you have to lay up. Now there's small holes you can fit into, nooks and crannies you can fit through, but yeah, it used to not be the case.
So for the new players listening, what's your advice going forward? Do they stick to the fast bag and don't even bother with a sticks bag, or what's your advice going forward for these new players?
I mean, my advice would be, if it's working for you, stick with it, but learn all the shots in the game. Don't just focus on going in the hole. Work on going around bags, pushing bags, setting blockers, dealing with blockers. You still need all the shots in the game. Just
to become better, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't only.
And a lot of it has to do with, it depends on how much you play. If you're just playing in a league like the ACL, which, it's bring your own bags, that's okay. But if you like to travel, or even within your state to go to different tournaments, and it's bags are, you use what's here, and it is a stop and go bag, and you're not used to the way they handle, the way they kick. I'm not going to say grab a sticky bag, but it wouldn't hurt you to buy, 4 bags and just test them out. So if you do run into that, you got some kind of a feel for it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, because, now a lot of new players have an arsenal of bags, as they like to call it. I know David has an arsenal of bags. I have arsenal of bags, but my bags are usually mainly stick and go bags. I don't have a true fast bag until recently with some kill shots that haven't even broken in yet. But yeah, I think for the players right now, buying kill shots, buying game changers, buying fast bags, I think it's a good idea for you guys to buy slow bags, so you guys could get better at the different shots that David's talking about. Because if you don't experience them and you don't, practice them, you are not going to become a great cornhole player.
Yeah. On a similar note, like, still having a flat bag isn't important. The fast bags doesn't require them anymore. But like Adam said, if you go to some of these tournaments that are bags provided or outdoors, if you're playing in the wind, you still need a flat bag. Right. So you might think you're great indoors or great with game changers, but to be an all-around great player, you still need like a flat bag. You still need to adjust to conditions and deal with different types of bags.
All right, Adam, any last words before we finish up?
That hair on Dave, everybody's got to really look at that. That's some really nice hair.
Isn't your arm tired? It's been up the entire
nice head of hair. Look at that. Don't you just want to put your fingers through it?
We're in quarantine, and I expected, my hair is all crazy, and I was expecting Adam to have some hair on top of it.
Yeah,
on top of his head, but
all kinds of hair on the top of my head.
That's your quarantine.
Got some nice gray down here, though.
I got my own clippers that get cleaned cut every 2 weeks.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. It was fun talking to you. And I hope this helps people decide on kind of how to go into the game strategy-wise and how to practice with different bags. And thanks for your input. I know that I chose you because I know that you guys do not agree with what's going on and going into the new faster innovation of bags, but it happened, and I think it's a good outlook for other people that don't have that same perspective. So thanks again, and we'll see everybody on the next podcast. Thanks for listening.